Hey guys, RJ here, and after watching episode 5 of 13 Reasons Why, this show is weighing really hard on me. I'm like a depressed, but like a good depressed. Like, that means this show is making me feel all the feels, and it obviously is trying to translate all of the pain that Hannah felt throughout all of this to the viewer. As in all my reviews, if you have not seen episode 5 of 13 Reasons Why, stop this review, go watch it on Netflix, then come back here, then we can talk about it. We are on to the lovely Courtney as episode 5, tape 3, side A. And man, I mean, she kind of definitely deserves this. We learned in the last episode, what kind of happens between her and Hannah, but this episode, she kind of takes it to a whole other level. And I think the part that's supposed to like kind of confuse the viewer is the fact that Courtney is a ridiculously nice person, at least, like to most people. And as long as it doesn't, deprecate herself, she's trying to be nice to literally everyone in the school. She's one of those goody girls, she's on student council, all of that kind of stuff. She's trying to please everyone, and I feel like most of the time that ends up pretty much pleasing no one. I do love the beginning of this episode where Clay is, riding into school and he sees Tyler, getting made fun of. People are pulling down their pants. And I mean, at the same time, I understand Clay's side of it where he's trying to kind of get even for Hannah and create his own justice, as we learned last episode. And then also I do feel for Tyler who, did this terrible thing to Hannah, but also, does he really deserve this? And isn't this kind of the opposite of what Hannah would want because he's now being bullied? Tyler also ends up talking to Mr. Porter, and that conversation is really important, I think, because I don't know if Mr. Porter is going to be on the tapes, because it seems like he will be. Every single person like kind of hints to him like, isn't Hannah on your mind? And, aren't you thinking about it all the time? And I do love the conversation between him and Tyler. It's through a lot of passion there, where Tyler's like kind of lashing out, like, people are making fun of me, people are pulling down my pants. And he's like, are you doing anything to antagonize these people? And just the way they kind of go back and forth on this, I don't know if Mr. Porter is actually on the tapes or is one of the tapes, but he's got to be involved in this somehow. Just the way he's acting around all of these kids does not make sense from a counselor point of view. A few times throughout this episode, we see Hannah trying to befriend Courtney again, right? They had this falling out after Tyler took a photo of them making out, and she's really trying to like reach out to Courtney. She needs someone to talk to be friends with, and Courtney is pretty much having none of it. She's looking away at lunch. She's like not talking to her. She's just acting fake like she does with everyone else. And I think Hannah actually tapped into her like real self for a little bit there when they were just having fun, not even the kissing stuff, just when they were having fun as friends, letting loose. I think that's more of actually who Courtney is rather than the good girl that she kind of presents all the time. But obviously, there's nothing Hannah can do about this. Courtney is just going to keep rejecting her because she's so afraid of people finding out of what she really is. And I mean, I do understand her trying to hide it, but obviously, as we learn later in this episode, there are better ways to do that than making up lies about other people. I also like that Clay gets to see Courtney with her parents at Monet's. She's sitting there and they're like planning out her whole life. I don't think I know too many helicopter parents, at least at this level. I mean, I've met some really tight parents for sure, but man, these parents are like planning out her schedule, planning out who she should date. And yeah, that's way too much for me. I'm way too independent for that kind of thing. I mean, it seems like Courtney is too, which is why I'm so confused. She's a very well put together adult or young adult. You would think that like her parents would see that and, just like kind of let her do her own thing. But I think it is important that Clay saw her there and saw, her parents and how they act and, how they kind of control her life. There's definitely a lot of boundaries put in place there, and maybe not intentionally by her parents, but I do think that kind of shelled Courtney off from what she really wants to be. A big chunk of time of this episode is pretty much given to the winter formal, right? Courtney ends up convincing Hannah to go, and she ends up going with the Courtnettes, and she takes them in this brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee that her dad got just for this event. I love Hannah's parents. I know that they're not perfect, and I'm sure we'll find out some bad things about them eventually or something, but man, they are so adorable. The dad going out and getting a new car just so his daughter can go to the winter formal with no issues there. I love that guy. Like, keep it going, Mr. Baker. Then we go into the dance, and immediately upon entrance, Hannah is greeted with Tyler snapping pictures right in her face. And like, dude, you just got caught stalking her not more than just a couple days ago or weeks or whatever. You should be on the other side of the gym, nowhere near her. I do not know what you were thinking. And so she goes past that, and then she ends up kind of losing Courtney in the crowd. She talks to Jessica and Alex for a minute. I do love the one line that, Jessica says, like, we're back together if hell freezes over. And then Alex says, like, that would be a great theme for this dance. All that stuff aside, we see Clay and Tony having this conversation in real life, in current day, and they're having it in this empty gym. And just the way Tony and Clay are communicating, there are clearly a lot of things that need to be said, but he needs to finish the tapes, I'm guessing, before Tony can say them. And yeah, they're up on the bleachers, and you just see Clay like looking out, and he's watching the dance. I just love the way they do these flashbacks, right? He's down there looking at Hannah, and he's just like, you can tell that he's upset with himself for not doing something. And yeah, the scene that they have, though, is terrific. They end up both meeting at this dance. I love Clay's one friend, Jess. He's like the one popular, attractive-looking guy, but he's definitely, I would say, one of the nicer ones, at least as far as we can tell. He's friends with Clay. He's not a huge dick. And so, yeah, he ends up pushing Clay to go dance with Hannah, and I guess Clay was only there because of a bet with Jess about him getting a C-. But yeah, we end up getting this freaking adorable scene between Clay and Hannah. They're just having fun out on the dance floor. They're like dancing and jumping around, acting like goons. And then, of course, Tony is once again clutch. He puts on this amazingly romantic song, and I actually love this song. It's The Night We Met by Huron, I think, or something. And yeah, this is a perfect song for these two. They're just dancing, they're getting closer, and it's so close yet again. I think they're gonna kiss. And then, of course, Hannah sees Jessica like drunkly grinding on Justin Foley and decides that she has to go interfere, which, like, Hannah, just focus on you, girl. Like, sometimes, yeah, it's good to be there for friends even when they're acting like idiots, but also sometimes you just need to focus on yourself and move along. Like, Clay is right here with you. You guys are sharing this romantic moment with this amazing song, and yet you're interested in what Jessica's doing with Justin. Just ignore that. But anyway, she tries to go over and stop that. She gets confronted because Courtney was confronted earlier in this scene for this dance, and she was pretty much like, people had been ousting her like, hey, this is you and Hannah making out in this photo that's circulating around school. Courtney denies it and ends up blaming Hannah pretty much, and says that Hannah went down on Tyler. And yeah, pretty much all of this stuff that Courtney said to him was just total BS. And Hannah is clearly like freaked out. She's like, I never did that. And she turns around to look at Clay, and yeah, he of course says nothing as per usual, even though we learn later in the episode that he said he doesn't care. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He just cares about her. And yeah, she freaks out and she storms out of the gym. She confronts Courtney outside and is pretty much like, you can't just throw me under a bus because you have this issue internally. Like, clearly you have this secret that you don't want to share with anyone else. And I get that. That's fine. Like, I've been there. I've been objectified, like this kind of thing. And it's crazy to me that Courtney is still trying to like defend herself, but it's nuts. Like, you can't just make up lies about other people to cover your own ass. It's ridiculous, and Courtney knows better, and that's why she's so emotional in this scene, because she knows that she did something wrong. And then sadly, Hannah ends up leaving this, and Clay is just there like searching around, looking for her, and he can't find her. And yeah, I was really hoping that we might get a kiss there. It was really close, but clearly that just wasn't meant to be. After hearing about all this, Clay decides to once again take action, and I'm still not sure if this is the right thing, if this is what Hannah wants him to do, but I guess we'll have to find out at the end of this series. But yeah, he takes Courtney and he takes her to a cemetery, and I mean, kind of immediately, we the viewer know this is where Hannah is buried, and he takes her over to where she's buried and pretty much like starts questioning her and basically forcing her to like answer his questions on what happened that day, and all of the things that Courtney did wrong, and is basically just like openly accusing her while Hannah is there laying in the ground. It's a very, very emotional scene, and Hannah kind of ends up losing her shit, and she's like, you don't understand how hard it is. I have two gay dads, and that makes it all this much harder for me to come out because, people made fun of them all the time when I was younger, and, they went through all of this stuff, and I didn't want to do anything more to them. But I think that that's really just an excuse for her being scared. You can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you gotta be you. So after Clay scares Courtney off, Tony then comes in and they have a really big scene together where Clay is saying, like, I don't understand why these people did this. I want to hurt them for what they did. And yeah, I love the way that Tony says, I haven't actually been here yet. This is the first time I've seen this, and you don't want to see this before you're ready. And yeah, I thought that whole thing was powerful. And then I really like the way that Clay ends up folding a piece of paper because she doesn't have a headstone yet. So he ends up putting it down, like a little piece of paper folded up that says Hannah on it. I thought that was great. It was a great touch. And like, Clay is just such a sweet kid. I really hope his tape is not that evil. Tony, being the clutch kid that he is, gives Clay the tape of the song that they were dancing together with. And yeah, I thought that was really good of him. And Clay takes it home, starts listening to it. You can tell emotions building up. And then his mom comes over and basically just adds to the pile of shit that is probably Clay's worst week of his life, and says, like, by the way, the school kind of hired me to be a lawyer to kind of go after your dead girlfriend, even though she doesn't know that. But yeah, she says, the school hired me, and, if you don't want me to go after this girl, you don't want me to take this job, just tell me, I won't do it. And Clay obviously responds with, I didn't even know her, which is such a lie. Like, I don't know if he's just lying to himself or he just really doesn't want to tell his parents the truth. But yeah, we get that amazing end scene. I'm not even kidding. I was starting to tear up really bad in this scene when he's in the shower finally, because everyone made jokes about how bad he stank all day because he hadn't showered, and he finally gets in the shower to kind of wash away his sins. And even though he hasn't really sinned at this point, not terribly, but yeah, so he's standing there, he's, beginning to cry, and dear Lord, man, that is just the running water scenes. I feel like they always get me, but yeah, this one in particular was really rough. Well, guys, that is pretty much it for me. This was episode 5. I thought it was amazing. Once again, just like every other episode so far, I'm in a trance the entire time I watch it. I feel so many different emotions, like parts that make me laugh, parts that make me cry, parts that make me feel something I haven't even felt before. It's just in general, I feel like this show is dragging us along into this. Hopefully at the end, we'll get something of a happy sentimental value. I'm not sure really, because this is a very sad story, but yeah, man, I'm just kind of hoping for our boy Clay to kind of make it through this whole thing, because right now he does not look like he is ready to take on the world. And yeah, we'll have to see later as to what happens. And don't worry, these reviews will keep coming out. I'm gonna have to take a break next week for a whole week, not being able to do these reviews because I won't be here. We're renovating a house. So yeah, just want to let you guys know that ahead of time. And while we're on the subject, if you guys want to, please subscribe to us here on YouTube. That helps us out the most. Like this video if you liked it. Comment down below, what do you guys think of this series so far? Are you guys as happy with it as I am? I seriously cannot find many things to complain about in this series. I could probably try a little harder, but yeah, guys, this series is fantastic. And if you are not watching it yet, I really recommend.